Hey friends, welcome back to Six Hearts on Six Acres. My name is Bree. If you've never been here before, I'm so glad to have you. Today I'm going to share with you a homemade kitchen restock. I did this restock on Sunday, a little bit early in the morning before church, again when I got home from church, again after my nap, and then again after evening church. So it was kind of a full on and off day. I started out bright and early though by shaping this sourdough loaf that I mixed up last night. It had been bulk fermenting on my countertop overnight and it was ready to get shaped and thrown into the fridge. This is just one of my plain loaves. I'm not adding any inclusions. I really like to make a plain loaf every single week for my kids to eat with sandwiches or toast or to use alongside our meals. It's the most versatile for sure. I started my sourdough journey right before Thanksgiving, and I am still absolutely loving it. I can't believe how easy it is and how enjoyable it is. I have switched over 100% of my family's carb style foods, so breads, bagels, English muffins, pretzels, tortillas, all of those types of things. I have switched those over to sourdough. And we have pretty much loved every single recipe that we have tried so far, which is super awesome. I am going to link all of the recipes that I share with you today in the description box below. I would love to hear what recipes you make when you do a kitchen restock for your home, or even just some of your favorite homemade snacks and sides and just grab and go type things that you make for your family. I don't do a homemade kitchen restock like this every single week, but the weeks that I do, I am so thankful to myself because it makes life so much easier. I feel like my kids aren't just asking for snacks nonstop. There are just things that they can get into the fridge and grab. It's easier to pack lunches for everybody, and it's easier to throw dinner together as well when I just have a fresh loaf of bread ready to go. We somehow, over the last couple years, have become pretty much an ingredient-based home. There are very few snacks or processed food items that I purchase. And if we do, they are a treat or a splurge and not something that we get very often. So that means when we have nothing to eat in the house and people are hungry, it is up to me to use what we have and throw something together for everyone. Last night, at the same time that I mixed together that loaf of sourdough bread, I also mixed together some sourdough English muffins and let them bulk ferment on the counter overnight as well. They rose up nice and high and was just a really soft, beautiful dough. So I just went ahead and just lightly rolled that out. I like to roll it between a quarter and a half of an inch. And then I just use one of my canning jar rings to cut those into circle shapes. Once I got all of these English muffins cut out, I put them onto a baking sheet that was dusted lightly with some cornmeal, and then I dusted the top of these English muffins, covered them with a towel, and they just sat there for several hours. So this was in the morning before church, and I didn't mess with them again until after I got home from church and had fed everybody lunch. So they are super not finicky. I have let them rise for 1 hour when I needed them quickly in the morning, but today they got to rise for let's see, 8 to 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, probably 5 hours, and they were perfect at both times. I had fed my sourdough starter last night and it was risen and ready to use. So I decided to go ahead and just mix together another loaf of sourdough. I am going to do this one as an inclusion loaf though, and I'm going to add caramelized onions and Parmesan cheese. I haven't done this combination yet, but I really like to experiment. My husband, he loves jalapeno cheddar. That's his favorite so far. I've also done a brown sugar cinnamon and a tomato basil mozzarella and an Italian herb and cheese and a chocolate chip. Oh no, and I've also done a cranberry and wild rice. I've really kind of experimented quite a bit, and I like all of them except the jalapeno one. It's too spicy for me because I'm a pretty big wimp. But I have not tried one that I just haven't liked, so I'm sure this one's going to be delicious as well. After I mix this together, let it set for an hour, and then typically I do my stretch and folds. But because I was getting ready for church and rushing out the door with 4 kiddos, my stretch and folds did not happen on this loaf. And like I said, sourdough is so forgiving. It didn't even matter. You can do your stretch and folds and get a really beautiful soft dough, or you cannot and you still end up with a great loaf. So either way, I feel like you're going to win. All right, I'm showing you my face now. I'm no longer in my nightgown and bedhead. This is after church and after lunch, and I went ahead and got my griddle out and just toasted up these English muffins on both sides. I didn't time it. I think I left them like 5 to 6 minutes on each side, just until they're that nice golden brown color. And then I like to pop them in my oven at 350 degrees for 10 minutes just to make sure that they are fully cooked on the inside. Nobody wants to bite into an English muffin with raw dough. You could also just temp check the inside of these with a thermometer and see if they're the right temperature, but I feel like I don't go wrong with just baking them for a few minutes, and it doesn't add any extra time, and I needed my oven heated up anyways, so no big deal there. My plan was, after I got those in the oven, to start making a batch of yogurt, which is why my Instant Pot is out. But I started going through the fridge and realized that Walmart forgot my small container of yogurt for me to inoculate my batch with, because I, like almost always, forgot to set some yogurt aside from my last batch. So I decided to just go ahead and take a nap. This is pretty much part of my every single week Sunday routine. I fit a nap in there somewhere. God rested on the 7th day, and so do I. I woke up though and decided to get back to work. I knew I wanted to make that sourdough loaf that I had mixed together a caramelized onion. And so I went ahead and got my onions all chopped up. These things were so strong. My eyes were just pouring out water and burning. I have tried the tips of freezing your onions for a few minutes or not cutting off the end. I find that if it's a strong onion, none of that stuff is going to help, and I honestly just need to invest in a pair of goggles because my eyes just react so strongly to that onion scent that I can't see, and I am just making a mess with my mascara, and tears are going everywhere. I am super excited on the topic of onions though, because now that it's March, we are 7 weeks from our average last frost here in Southwest Missouri, and I usually put onions in the ground around 5 to 6 weeks, so it is coming up. In the past, I've always ordered from Dixondale Onions and had those onions shipped right to my house, but I noticed last year our local farm store gets Dixondale onions in bulk, and they were a lot less expensive than ordering them on my own. So I am just waiting for them to get their stock in. They don't have it yet, but they did tell me it's coming. And so I'm ready to get those picked up and get them in the garden. My garden is not ready yet. I need to get out there and get it completely cleared. And I really wanted to put irrigation in this year before I put any plants in. So there's still quite a bit to do, but the weather is just now starting to warm up. And this week has been so stinking windy that it's just really impossible to go out there and work. So I have all of this on my list for upcoming things to do. I am about to be very busy. I think it was about right here that I decided I was not going to let you see me be in pain and struggle anymore. And we are zooming in on that onion. It was the very last one, and my onions were already starting to color nicely. One tip for caramelized onions is not to salt them until the very end. It helps them to not just lose all their moisture right away. You do see me, of course, bagging up my onion skins. That's something you're going to see me do every single time. I love to just have a vegetable scrap bag going in my freezer so that I can make homemade broth at all times. I use those bags of scraps for vegetable broth, chicken broth, and beef broth. I've never made like a seafood-based broth before, but I would like to experiment with that this summer as well. The onions were smelling amazing, and they had the most beautiful color, so they were finished now. I went ahead and just put them on a plate so they could cool pretty quickly because my loaf of bread that I had bulk fermenting on the counter was looking like it was perfect and ready to be shaped. I should have hid those English muffins when I went to take a nap because I had 15 of them cooling on the countertop when I went to lay down. And when I woke back up, there were only 7 left. Even though we had just eaten lunch, my kids thought they were a great snack apparently and just devoured them. So I needed another breakfast option for the week. I have a lot of early morning meetings at work this week, and so having something that is just grab and go, ready and easy for my kids is super important. So I decided to go ahead and throw together just some strawberry muffins. These were really good, but I couldn't help but just wait for May when we have fresh, ripe, beautiful strawberries. These ones from Walmart just don't cut it when you've had the real deal. I don't know how this happened. I must have forgot to hit record, but I somehow did not get any of myself putting this recipe together. I will, again, make sure to share it with you in the link below. This was a new one for me. It included sour cream, which is a little bit different. It also did call for buttermilk, but I didn't have any on hand. I know you can make some just by mixing milk and vinegar, but I didn't want to take the time to do that either, and so I just substituted milk. These were so delicious. The batter was really heavy and thick, and they made the softest, fluffiest, just lightly sweet muffins. They were really good. The recipe also said that this makes like 18 muffins. She must have not filled her muffin tins near as full as I did because I got exactly 12 out of them. My muffins were pretty big. I like to usually make them more like a bakery style with that big muffin top, and these were excellent for that. I feel like a lot of my breakfast recipes that I usually reach for or make that are easy grab and go items are typically carb heavy and don't have a ton of protein in them. So if you have some great breakfast recipes that you like to make that can stay on the countertop or be thrown in the fridge or freezer for your family to just grab and warm up on their own or just be ready to eat as is, I would love it if you could share those recipes with me below. I did see a recipe a couple weeks ago that I wanted to try where you put like tortillas inside of muffin tins and you add eggs and veggies and a protein like sausage or bacon or ham and bake those. And so when these muffins and English muffins run out, I'm going to attempt that. I think it looked really good. Hopefully it's something my family will eat. The issue is with protein is that my husband doesn't like reheated eggs typically. And so I have tried just like egg, like I don't know what you call them, eggs in a muffin tin, like a mini omelet kind of thing. And just the texture of it reheated is not his favorite. So hopefully these will have enough other textures going on with the tortillas and the proteins and the veggies that he won't notice that egg texture so much. Whenever I make muffins that don't have like a crumb topping, actually now that I say that, this recipe did call for a crumb topping, but I was feeling tired and it was almost time for us to head back to evening church. So whenever I'm not using a crumb topping, I just throw like a little sprinkle of brown sugar on the top and it just gives it like a nice, sweet, crispy top that when you bite into tastes really good. My caramelized onions were completely cool now, so I am ready really quick. I have like 30 minutes before it's time to leave. And throw this loaf of bread together so it can sit in my fridge and ferment for hopefully 24 hours is what I'm going for. I think I will bake it right before dinner tomorrow night. So I just got this dough dumped out and I generously sprinkled those caramelized onions and Parmesan cheese all over this loaf. When you're adding inclusions to bread, there are a couple ways to do it. There's this way that I'm doing where you just cover each layer of the bread and then as you fold, you add another layer of those inclusions. But some people add their inclusions during their stretch and folds and really get them mixed into your batter really well. For me, I done it that way as well. It really depends on what type of bread that I'm making as far as inclusions go. So I did it that way when I did the cranberry and wild rice. That way that I could really get the rice distributed throughout the bread and not just have layers of it. But when I'm adding something, I don't know, meatier or like thicker, I like to do it this way so it's kind of swirled throughout the bread and not just consistently mixed into the loaf. Am I missing out on any really great sourdough inclusions that you've made? If so, let me know. I keep seeing like blueberry lemon as a spring option, and I'm just not sure how that would taste. I think I'm going to try it anyways just because everybody's making it and it looks delicious. But those, I like blueberry and lemon together. I just can't really picture them in sourdough bread. But we will see because I am going to make sure and try it this spring. And two of my daughters have March birthdays, so I think I'm going to make them a sprinkle and white chocolate chip loaf of sourdough to surprise them for their birthdays. Like, how fun would that be on some French toast or even like just a cinnamon sugar toast? I think they would absolutely love it. You see me kind of struggling to get this loaf rolled up. It was airy, and it was just a really fat loaf of sourdough. It must have some amazing gluten formation, and my yeast was definitely working overtime. So thank you to my sourdough starter. Her name is Eve, by the way, if you were wondering, because she's the mother of all sourdough for our family. I threw this sourdough loaf in the fridge. Like I said, it's going to sit all night and probably all of the next day as well. And then I decided I wanted to throw together one little grab and go snack quickly. Avery had been watching in the kitchen and she decided she wanted to help with this. And this is the perfect treat for little hands to help with. I don't know, we call them energy balls. I make them really frequently and you can switch up the ingredients to whatever you like or need to use up. When I cleaned the pantry out last week, I found this coconut that I had bought at TJ Maxx. It's unsweetened. It was flake style, but I didn't want those. It was like big flakes. I wanted them quite a bit smaller, and so we decided to just pulse them a few times in the food processor, and we're going to make like an almond joy style energy ball. So we added that flaked coconut, and then we added sliced almonds and chocolate chips. Of course, these energy balls always have peanut butter in them as well. This was my first time doing this flavor combination, and I haven't tried them yet, but Olivia, my oldest daughter, and my husband did, and they both said they were 10 out of 10, and Olivia came back for second. So I think this is going to be the perfect addition for snack time and throwing in lunches this week for us, and I will probably make it again when these run out because I had a lot of extra coconut to use up. These energy balls also have chia seeds in them, and so I was telling Avery about how when I was probably her age, I asked for a chia pet for I think for Christmas, and my grandma got it for me, and I was so excited to grow this hair all over. I think I had a hedgehog, I think, if I remember correctly, but my chia pet did not grow, so she got a pottery kit for Christmas, and I have this huge bag of chia seeds, so she has decided that she is going to make herself some type of chia pet out of her pottery kit, and then we're going to use those chia seeds and see if we can get some hair to grow on whatever she makes. Every time I make these energy balls, I have found it easiest to just throw them in the fridge once you get all of the ingredients mixed together for at least 30 minutes, but they do best if you throw them in there for an hour. It's just a lot easier to work with them and to get them rolled into balls once they're chilled without making a huge mess all over your hand. Sorry for the lighting in this part of the video. It is now nighttime. We are home from evening church. I have my littles in bed already, and I am going to go ahead and score and bake this loaf of sourdough that I had resting in the fridge from this morning. I love to score sourdough. It's one of my favorite parts of the process, and I typically do something different every single time. It's just really fun. It's like playing with your food for me, I guess. I like to preheat my Dutch oven in the oven at 450 degrees while I'm heating it up, and then I put my loaf of bread on parchment paper and just drop it right in there. Cover that back up with the lid, and I bake it like this at 450 degrees for 25 minutes. And then when 25 minutes is up, I take my lid off, but I leave the whole Dutch oven inside the oven, and I bake it again for 20 more minutes. And it turns out perfect like this every single time. You can make these energy balls any size that you want. I find about 1 inch is perfect for my kiddos, and they typically eat like 2 to 3 of them as a snack or thrown into their lunch. You can also just press them onto parchment paper like in a rectangle and then just slice them up and eat them like granola bars as well, as long as you keep them chilled. These do have to go in the refrigerator. Otherwise, they just get really soft and messy and harder to eat. Other combinations that we've done with these are just plain chocolate chip or cranberry and pecan. I've done mini M&Ms and peanuts. You can just really throw whatever you like in there, and they turn out great every single time. You can also add like flax and hemp heart and whatever kind of stuff that you like that. I only have chia seeds on hand, but if I had those things, I would throw them in as well. On the way home from Walmart, we did stop and get that little container of yogurt that I needed so I could get yogurt going. Yogurt is such a time saver for my family. My little boy loves this stuff and will eat bowl after bowl, and it's such an easy breakfast. It's something that he can get on his own. It's fairly nutritious. I sweeten mine with sweetened condensed milk, but I think if you want a healthier option, once your yogurt is made, you could easily instead mix in honey or maple syrup, or even just like a jar of jam would be really good as well. Making yogurt in your Instant Pot, or actually I have a Crock-Pot Express, which is the just off brand of Instant Pot, is so quick and easy. It literally is less than 3 minutes of hands-on time. You just throw everything in there, mix it up, and let it sit overnight. Once it's finished, do not stir it. Just take it and stick it in the fridge for at least 8 hours, and then it's ready to go. My loaf of bread is done now, and so I'm just pulling it out and letting it cool on the wire rack. And I am going to be heading off to bed for the night. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I love being able to share with you. I love this community that we're building here. If you've made it this far and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Share this video with a friend. Leave me a comment. And until I see you next time, may God bless.